What looked to me in the beginning as a star, I came very fast to understand that it was actually a Star of David. And this is what made me start the journey.
A journey of discovery that changed the life of 33-year-old Hannah Eyal.
In the age of 25, after I thought that I was Catholic or Christian my whole life, suddenly I discovered that my mom was having this necklace. And she literally told me, I had a necklace with a star when I was a child. So we think it was Grandma that gave it to her. She passed away already when I discovered all of it.
Hannah grew up Catholic in Porto, Portugal, with no clue that her hometown was a neighborhood of Jews kicked out of Spain in 1492.
After many times that I asked, and she was not willing to speak about it and quite avoiding my questions, for the first time she mentioned as describing me a story of her childhood, and the kids were coming after me and they were calling me the granddaughter of the Jew.
Hannah's grandmother, Eliza da Costa, and great-grandmother, Elisa Rodriguez Diaz, share the last names of Jewish rabbis and spiritual leaders, granted safe haven until 1496, when King Manuel I of Portugal married the daughter of Spain's Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand and imposed the Inquisition.
She asked specifically that after I pass away, it's very important for me that for 7 days you would cover all the mirrors in the house. And please close the windows because the neighbors can't see.
And today, all these hundreds of years later, Hannah says school children don't learn anything about this dark time in Portuguese history.
The general idea is like people are not really aware, it's not in the general awareness that the Inquisition was something directed to the Jews, which is quite scary. The best way to explain this is me today, as a 33 years old, asking all my friends back in Portugal, what do you actually remember from the Inquisition that we studied in school? And all of them would tell me, oh, it was about witches, right?
Hannah's search for a spiritual connection landed her in Nepal and India, where she met Israelis and heard the Hebrew language for the first time.
In Nepal, I'm having the first contact with Israelis, which was for me very special because I immediately felt they are much more like me than what I would ever imagined. And I hear this language that for me was so special. I heard it and it was like I could feel history in the language.
And the rest is history and destiny. Shortly after, she met her now husband, Shai.
We have this very interesting conversation where it was very eye-opening. The whole thing for me was the way he was so sure of who he is. We have a history, we left Israel, we were all over the world, we kept our customs, we kept our traditions, our books were not changed.
Hannah, nervous enough to meet Shai's parents, was overcome with emotion the moment the plane started landing at Ben Gurion Airport.
I'm just looking through the window and I see over there Israel, and my immediate feeling to tears that I go back to every time I remember was that I came back home. I know that I was never here, but the feeling was like I came back, was a feeling of I just want to arrive there, it's my place.
Hannah and Shai are married with 2 children, and now the fluent Hebrew-speaking psychologist has become an advocate for descendants of the B'nai Anusim, secret Jews, even speaking on the floor of the Israeli parliament. She's hoping others like her will discover that what seemed like strange family habits are actual clues into hundreds of years of secret Jewish rituals maintained by women in the home.
First thing that was very relevant in my family, it was the forbiddance to point stars in the sky. So I came later to understand that this was actually because the observance of Shabbat is ending in Motzei Shabbat with 3 stars that are in the sky, and this is what determines the end of Shabbat. When I learned how to sweep the floor, I had to do it always from the corners of the room to the center. I have to avoid to sweep in the direction of the door. I can't do it in the direction of the door because it was forbidden to throw any kind of dust where once we had mezuzah in the door. When the bread is falling or I'm going to throw bread, I have to kiss it before. She says, I used to say also a blessing for a fruit But it was only when I ate the fruit for the first time in the season, which is a blessing called Shechianu.
Today's sophisticated DNA testing, linking soul memory with genetics, as well as many resources, are discovering that millions of people throughout Latin America and the Caribbean could have Jewish ancestors.
The whole thing is a clear understanding that there was an event in history that had an impact that you can't deny. You know, history tells that there were families, there were people that kind of were forced to lose their identity. So that identity is still there. Internet, the traveling is triggering all this. And we don't know the exact number, but we just know that stories like mine are flourishing everywhere.
Emily Francis, I-24 News.